maybe I just didn't really pay attention because it wasn't necessarily relax. It wasn't necessarily like, oh my God.
I love it.
Let's go more.
But when there's a problem, number one, we fight the problem together, not fight each other.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's me, baby.
Estás palpable. Es mi aparte.
Outdoor. I think I am, yeah.
What the hell is
Because you're his room.
delete it? It's I'll support myself. Of course. I go first again.
You go, I text. Yeah.
Fine. I do believe it's her principle, but for me, I just say because she's seated on my right, it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. I'm the right one for him.
Oh my goodness. So there's a revelation behind it.
There is.
You go first. The reason why I wanted to go first is I believe we have our own unique story.
That's true.
So she has a story of how she met me. I have a story of how I met her. So let's hear your story first.
Okay, so how did we meet? I think the first encounter I remember of me actually interacting with him was at a word empowerment movement conference. We used to have these conferences every year. Yeah, we used to have them every year. This was 2014. Yeah, so we had a mutual friend who was his friend and my friend. So I remember after the conference was done, it was during the power session, you know, when the ministers are ministering to the people and all those things. I remember I was on top because I used to sing in the praise team. So I was on top. She also, our mutual friend, used to sing in the praise team as well. So she found me on top and she's like, let's go, I want you to meet someone. Let's go. And then she held me on the hand and took me to him and says, Gomezyo, Stacy Gomezyo, and she disappeared. And so we're just there like, oh, hi. You know, so that was our first encounter. And then I think the rest is history.
She remembers meeting me on that particular day, but I did get to meet her a little bit way before that. Yet again, it was in a Christian setup when we went to, you know, to one of the schools in Livala and we were ministering there. And of course, she was one of those people in the press team, and I was introduced to her, and I got to greet her. But one thing that struck me is when I saw her, I wouldn't say it was love at first sight, but it was perceiving greatness at first glance. So I got to perceive that this lady is great, okay, and later on, that's when we got to meet at the meeting, you know, right there. So I believe the love grew, you know, over a period of time, not necessarily
At first sight.
at first sight.
For me,
I was a man of God, so
okay, I wouldn't necessarily say that because for me, it wasn't okay. I knew he was a man of God, but I didn't necessarily, maybe I just didn't pay attention. Yeah, maybe I just didn't really pay attention because it wasn't necessarily, relax. It wasn't necessarily, it wasn't necessarily like, oh my gosh, my knight in shining armor, you know? It wasn't that. But, you know, I saw him, I said, oh, okay, okay.
Okay, so when I developed interest in her, I first of all got to ask her if she was interested in a relationship. But at that time, she had a special commitment unto the Lord. She just made a special, I could say, a commitment unto the Lord, just to allow the Lord to help her and even just shape her. So I think for a period of about 3 years, she committed not to be in a relationship. And I found you in year number
1.5.
1.5. So while she was in her commitment not to be in a relationship, that's when I had declared interest. However, the fact that she told me that she's in a commitment, it's something that I definitely respected. And I said, since this is starting with the Lord and you're allowing the Lord to deal with you, I will only, proceed to make an advancement after your commitment is done. So after her commitment was done, I deliberately did not just say, now that it's done, let me, rush into it. I waited and gave it a little bit of time. And I got to ask her out on her birthday. 2016, on her birthday. Yeah, so that's the first time I asked her out. It was the first time I was actually asking out a lady out. So I was panicking and I didn't even know what to do and what to say. Do you remember the words?
No.
You don't?
No, I think I remember something like, can we officially something?
Is it?
Yeah.
All I remember is I said, if my words can't say much, perhaps let me just provide a gift. I got her a phone.
Yeah.
The first time it was the first time I got someone a phone. I had not even bought a brand new phone for myself in my entire life by that time. So I got her a phone and I said, can we be
calling each other?
Yeah. So that's how I started the journey of being in a relationship.
Yeah. Yes, it was. It was an immediate yes. The reason it was an immediate yes is because we already knew, even before, like he said, he walked into my life when I was into my commitment with God. Like I had told him, no more writing my own love. I have done it before. It did not work. So I'm going to hand over the keys to you. I'm going to hand over the pen to you. You write my love story for me, So I told him, I'm giving you my heart. You know who to give it to. So when he came on scene, there were certain prayers I had prayed prior to his arrival that made me realize, oh, this is actually the dude, So when he came, we already knew. So even though we knew, it wasn't grounds for us to rush into a relationship because it wasn't yet time. So we started developing a friendship. So we became friends until after the time came for him to actually ask me out. So it was an immediate yes.
Three years. Yeah.
Oh, you know.
I'm not too good with the numbers, but I remember, yeah.
Yes.
I didn't say I'm an accountant, but I'm good. On my side, it was relief because they were worried. Really? They were waiting. Like, when are you ever going to bring someone, to me? So when I first introduced her to my mother loved her instantly.
Yes, I remember.
She hugged you, eh? Yeah, she loved her instantly. Her mother was also very welcoming.
Yes.
So from a family scale, everyone was supportive. No
Issues.
no issues. That's one thing we're grateful for. And yeah.
Yes, there was. So for us, I feel like because of the principles that we have built for ourselves, it wasn't necessary. I think for me, the only surprise that was there was the ring itself and where he was going to take me. But other than me knowing that we're engaged,
So we started with the tradition. We started with the traditional setup where
he reached.
I reached first, took plates, and they already told us we are traditionally engaged. So now, what she needed to know is when
he was going to officially bring the ring.
Yeah. So, but I'm sure she caught it, because that day it's like they had put her special makeup, special hair.
We sent people to come and do my makeup. They bought me a dress. They bought me, so he told me, I want to take you out for dinner. I said, I know, dude, I'm going to make sure my nails are done. So I had to make sure my nails were done. And then, Eka came to pick me.
Yeah, but I did surprise her. She didn't notice, all those things. And I made sure everything is documented. My engagement is well documented, and it was a lovely event. Yeah.
Stress, I wouldn't necessarily say stressful, okay, because I feel like for us, I think it's God's grace really, because it was quite easy. It was quite easy, even just raising funds and going to find the dress. It was quite easy. It wasn't.
I believe God. I believe the Lord had guided us from onset. I remember there was a time we had already set the date, and we said November we should be married, and so we started our preparations. But our preparations were a little bit slow. But then there was a time I had this frightening dream. That should have been in maybe May or June. I had this frightening dream that we were at our wedding day. And then while we were at our wedding day, the officiating pastor asked and said, where are the rings? Huh. And then I'm now at the wedding day, and I'm looking at the best man, and he says, I don't know. Then I had to go home. In that particular dream, I had to go home to get the rings. And unfortunately, I was using a bus again in that dream. So when I went back, to the venue, I found everyone had gone. Including my bride. I just found myself with my rings and I heard the Lord say, prepare now. So that's how we became very deliberate in our preparation, and we handled it very, very systematic, and our preparation was so smooth. We did all the muddy work and all the hard work in the beginning, so that when we're going towards the end, it was more
breathing.
Yeah, it was more of like a period of rest. Yeah. Maybe pressure did come from family personnels. Sometimes when you're entering into a union, there are a lot of voices, opinions, and also hands that want to get involved in how certain things should be done. Ideally, I've come to observe that most times couples, when they want to get married, they don't necessarily want a big crowd. Maybe they want 100, 150. But maybe you find family who want 500, 250, 300. So maybe the only pressure that the Lord also taught us to handle with wisdom just came from maybe family aspects that, had different opinions or how they needed things to be done. But at the end of the day, we did work well as a family, as a team, and the event was successful. Yeah.
I feel like it wasn't necessarily anxiety. It was like, okay, let's get this over and done with. I really want to get married today. So I was elated, I was happy, I knew this is what I really wanted to do. So yeah, it was a beautiful experience. I would do it again with the same dude.
I always panic. Like from asking her out the first time to engagement to the marriage, I always panic. And I've noticed every time I find myself in that place, words go.
Yeah,
like they,
sure, okay, yeah.
like they go. Asking her out, I didn't know what I said. Engagement was worse. I remember kneeling down and I asked my colleague, so what do I say? You know? So what do I say? And then I asked, wait, is it the left? Is it the right hand? You know, I was asking a very single person who doesn't know anything. But well, despite the panic, I did manage to gain back composure, and receiving her from her father was something that was very overwhelming, and yeah, it was.
We should do it again, eh?
We should
do it again. We should.
5 years now. We've been married for 5 years, and we only have one little daughter who's 3 years old. Okay, maybe I can start it even from the time where maybe I'm speaking a lot.
No, you can.
Okay, yeah. I can start it from the time we were in a relationship. Our relationship was a little bit different in the sense that we started devotion from the dating stage. Yeah, we started devotion from the dating stage. We had a day of fasting. That was every Wednesday. We had a day to discuss on building a family or building ourselves as believers. We called it the marriage gospel. And we also just took time to pray and just share scriptures with one another. And we have continued, that practice, to have discussions and also to pray with one another and just push one another, to grow in the Christian faith. When alarms ring, it's to just make sure I'm the one who switches off the alarm and raises the counterpart. I say, okay, let's pray. Let's do that. We've loved to call ourselves Team Jesus. If you look at the name Jesus, Jesus, the suffix is the word us. So we love to believe that us, we are found in Jesus. So, and we've definitely believed and seen how God has been the center of this relationship. Not just the center, he's been the author. He is the one that really orchestrated events to bring us together. We met in the presence of God, and everything else, we do. So for us, our growth in the faith is very paramount.
I feel like what has kept our love alive is having the foundation of friendship. We always get back to that foundation, understanding that throughout the seasons, they say romance is not necessarily always at a high. So you can always go back to the foundation of friendship, understand why your friend is in your life. What is it that you laugh about? What is it that tickles your fancy, So I feel like what has really kept us together is always going back to the foundation of friendship.
There's something cardinal that we learned during our counseling.
Yeah.
And what we learned is that when there's a problem, number one, we fight the problem together, not fight each other.
Yeah.
And number two, we learned that if there's a problem, the problem should die, not the relationship.
Exactly.
So it's like how the Bible tells us of how when you're dealing with cows, you will find that there's a lot of dung. So you shouldn't despise the dung, or rather the cattle or the cows, because of the dung. You should be able to separate, the dung from the cattle. So I ideally any what did I say? Maybe where we need to meet on common grounds. I wouldn't even want to call it conflicts, because it sounds like a matter. But any platform where we need maybe to align, all right, we ensure that and understand that, like, we are a team and we're not fighting each other. We're on the same team.
Exactly.
And I mean, that's how we work around it. I said let's work around it. Is 6 o'clock for you or 7 o'clock? We good for you? No,
But sit down.
we table it out from that scale.
Two things. There's a lot, but okay. Two things. I need to. Oh wow. Two things I appreciate about him. I love the way he covers me. He gives me security. Okay. What I mean is, I don't have to wonder. Like, okay, right now he's at work. What is happening? You understand what he gives me? That security. I love that about him. Number one. Number two, the other thing I love about him is how patient he is. Like, I'm not saying I wrong him a lot, but you can wrong him several times. He will give you grace. Like, he's a very graceful man. I love that about him. Yeah, and he's also very peaceable. I love that about him.
Truthfulness.
Yes, sir. Two things. I know I rock your boat, but okay.
My goodness. Yeah. No, she's a great mother. I love that motherly aspect of her, which I believe not just like better is a beneficiary of, but everyone that she gets to interact with. But not only that, even I, as her husband, I'm a great beneficiary of that, in a case where maybe you're walking and then either hitting to something. The motherly side of her will come and help you on all fronts. Apart from that, she is very joyful. I believe joy is a lovely atmosphere. You can think well in an atmosphere of joy. You can cease to panic in an atmosphere of joy. So she provides that atmosphere, to progress. So I love that about her. Like, she can literally laugh at any here and show my watch. We will. Thank you. I was ambushed. That was an ambush. That was a pair, I shall provide that atmosphere for you.
I love you. I love you. Like, that just sets me on course. When my husband looks at me and says, I love you, I'm just like, yeah, let's start the day now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I love you guys.
Yes, come on.
Oh my words, I like to hear from her.
I wanted to say something, but
well, I'm not necessarily a word person, but maybe, because I'm all about projects and things, perhaps let's do this. Yeah.
Oneness is a process. What I mean when I say oneness is a process is God loves to say he sees the end from the beginning. So when he says the man and the woman are going to be one, it doesn't mean that you become one there and then. So it is a process for you to get to be one, because, you're coming from two different backgrounds. So I've come to learn in my marriage that oneness is a process, because we are two different people. The dating stages, a whole different ball game when you compare it to marriage. So I've come to understand that oneness is a process and you need to give it time to get to there. Okay, so that's one of the lessons I've learned.
One of the lessons that I've learned is God has a way to bring people together, and the two individuals may be imperfect. Of course, have their strengths. They may be imperfect, but God sees them perfect for each other.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I've come to understand that I may have my strength, she may have her strength. I may have my weakness, she may have hers. But when God looks at us, he says, this is a perfect couple. And at the end of the day, I have seen how Solomon says two are better than one, in the sense that he says when one is down, the other lifts the other. So in our journey, perhaps, there've been moments where she has been a great help, to keep me going. And I likewise have been a great help to keep her going. And really, companionship is a blessing.
Yeah. So my second lesson is that no two marriages are the same. All of us have, like he said, two people that are perfect for each other. So you can't necessarily compare your marriage to another marriage. Yes, you can get lessons and be inspired by another couple, but you must understand that your marriage and the things you are dealing with in your marriage are unique to you. So it's better to get your template from God and what he says about the two of you. Yeah.
Well, seeing that we're actively in the ministry, so speaking to couples is part of our pastoral care duties, and we act in Lubuso on all fronts. We've gotten to help people that have been struggling in marriages or relationships. We've gotten to help people that are starting out. I think just soon you'll be a matron for a wedding just this month, and they're helping a few individuals here and there. But by the privilege that the Lord has given us to be active in the ministry, we are constantly doing that. Both fronts, both addressing people physically, but also inspiring people even through our social media platforms. So we are on it. We believe and understand why people and marriages also need to be addressed, is because at the end of the day, if we leave the marriages falling apart, then we're allowing society to be attacked, because the stress on the marriages will fall on the children, it will fall on the well-being of many other people, and eventually it will fall on society. You might eventually have broken people walking around and injuring all around. So I believe that message to just strengthen, encourage the couples is a message of preservation.
Exactly. 12th January.
9th September.
Yes.
Extremely.
Yeah.
It's very, very good.
Yeah. It's one of those things
pockets that just don't like it. Yeah, my name is Gomezyo.
My name is Stacy.
And we are the Shays, and this is how we met.